Hey, Jimmy here from Laser's Lab. Today I'll be tackling the first in an animation crash course following my process of drawing, rigging, and animating characters from Procreate through to After Effects, creating a music visualizer for my good friend and frequent collaborator, Captain Blackwood, the heavy metal pirate. This is an intermediate tutorial series, assuming you have a basic understanding of Procreate, Photoshop, and After Effects. The end result will be characters that can be animated completely using audio stems, not keyframes. We'll be covering rig design, expressions, audio preparation, efficiency, quick fixes, and also I have a lot of quick tips along the way that can be super helpful in taking your rigs to the next level. The series is jam-packed with info, and it's long, but well worth the watch. First step is the very fun task of creating your own character. All right, so I've got Procreate open here on the iPad Pro, and as you can see here, I have already sketched out what I'm looking to do. I've got this character that I want to rig, and I just drew without, I had it in the back of my head how I wanted him to animate, but I tried to just draw a little more uninhibited than I normally would. And the result was this cool, creepy goon. Calling him a goon. We're gonna have a bunch of these on the pirate ship with Captain Blackwood. So to start, I'd just like to kind of go over a few of the things that I kept in this design in order to facilitate easy rigging for the character. To start, the arms, I tried to keep them pretty straight. And the same with the legs. I'm going to utilize textures from Procreate in After Effects to achieve some similar textures, but for the most part, I'm actually going to generate those lines in After Effects. The same goes for the face. I do want his face to move a little bit, so I'll probably do a final drawing of his helmet, and then also a final drawing of the helmet texture separately. That way I can kind of tweak it in After Effects. I will kind of go over this stuff throughout as I go, but that's the main thing that I want to do. As far as the feet and the hands go, I don't expect to want to do a ton with movement for them, so I'm actually going to do just a drawing of the hands, and I'll do a few different options for hand shapes that I can kind of trigger throughout. It's a lot simpler, a lot easier. I'm going to have a lot of these characters going on. I'm duplicating this one quite a bit, so I don't need to go crazy with all these fine motor movements. So yeah, the main thing is the limbs. I'm actually going to create the structure for them in After Effects. So I'm going to dive into my rig now, and to start, I know for a fact that I want the hands, the feet, the torso, and the shoulder pads and the helmet to be built in Procreate. So I'm going to start with them, and what I'm going to do is create the outlines for them with solid black, and I use the technical pen here. It kind of varies, but the other thing I want to do actually before I start that is I'm going to create a white layer, and that's going to overlay everything, and all that does is it allows me to lower the opacity of the entire sketch underneath, because if you look at the sketch underneath, it's all these layers. If I was to lower all their opacity, it'd be a pain in the butt. So put a white layer over and lower the opacity there, and that makes things a lot So for this little knife thing, this is going to be like something that sticks to the final rig. So I'm just going to do the done. The basic outline is done anyway. Those are my main areas that I need to worry about. What I'm going to do is duplicate this exact boot for the other side, and I'll be able to shimmy it around so it has a different angle. So now what I want to do is actually add the finer details to each layer, so I won't need all the outlines up at the moment. I can take it layer by layer. And lastly, what I'm going to do is create textures for all of these areas that are going to be rigged in After Effects, or the layers created in After Effects, if that makes sense. So I don't want to start from the bottom up. I'm going to start with the torso, because that's what I want to do. And the benefit to doing a sketch first that's like fairly refined is you don't have to do as much thinking when you're actually creating the rig. And now in this case, now that I have filled all this in, but if you recall, I did have some filigree in the layer beneath that I wanted to use for this top section. So one easy way to go about doing that is if you slide to the left, you can duplicate a group or a layer, same. So I have my sketch layer here. I'm going to shut off the bottom sketch layer. I'm going to bring this duplicate layer up top. And now what I can do with that duplicate layer is I can shut off everything except for the torso, which is the area that I want to utilize here. And if I change the layer style to something I can see beneath, then I can use that as reference. So that looks good. I'll use that. And selecting the white of the background, I'm going to go ahead and add that filigree into my final layer here. And I probably should have done this earlier, but it works just as well. If I do it now, I can go up here to the little S, and selecting automatic selection, I can select by color. If you hold and drag, it'll change the threshold of it. You don't need to go too far before you've pretty much got all the pixels that you need there. So that looks pretty good. With that selected now, I can go to the paintbrush and turn on the bottom layer, turn off these, so I can just double check what I had for like a texture layer here. It was just a lighter color, if I remember correctly. I was using something, let's see here, stucco. Bring my layer back up, and oh, actually, you know what? I wasn't using stucco. This is a really cool brush in textures, just the grunge texture. I think maybe that's what I was using. I don't know. I like the look of it. It's subtle. And that's all I really want to do there. I'm gonna go back to this layer, actually, to this group, and change everything back to normal. Because now that I'm adding in my details, it's really helpful to be able to just bring everything up. So I do this pretty often. I'll have a reference layer below, a reference layer above, and the reference layer below will be beneath the layer with the opacity, the white opacity level. That way the reference layer below is kind of more like shape and overall line work, and the reference layer above is just complete. So I can kind of pull colors from it, etc. So now maybe I will go to the helmet. What do I want to do next? Nah, actually, I'll do these shoulder pads. The other thing I did was black and this dark blue, but we'll do the black first. I'm gonna switch here to my studio pen. It just covers the area a little quicker and easier. need for the helmet. I'll come back to that. I'm going to do the gloves and the boots now, and I'm going to keep them pretty simple, actually. So I'm running into a little issue here. The line work for this part of the boot is a little too close. It's a little too similar to the color of the actual boot, which will happen sometimes. So you can see here, what I did was I selected the layer and pressed alpha lock. That makes it so that anything that you paint will remain within the confines of what's already there. So it retains its shape, the alpha. Now what I want to do, because when I did that, I got rid of the outline, I'm just going to go over it again with my liner brush, the technical pen. Just so I can retain those lines and for everything to be consistent. This whole section back here is probably not going to be viewable, but you still want to just be as consistent as possible. And now, as you can see in the sketch, most of the details of the boot were done in these lighter colors. I'm not really using this green anymore, so I'll use some of these blues to just add some details to the laces, and probably call it a day on that. Now with that toe, I want to bring back some of that texture. For me, I like to try to keep things fairly consistent throughout, so I'll just use that on the toe, just to have a little texture in there. And I think that looks pretty good, so I'm gonna roll with that. I don't like these other lines in purple, so I'll keep those actually probably this color. And I will probably do those with the technical pen. I'm gonna erase this or get rid of that, so I just see what I need to work on. That looks perfect. I'm keeping it simple, and that is simple. This alpha locking technique is really awesome, so fast for adding textures in. I mean, you can see here, it's just like, boom, instantaneous. And for something like a wooden bat or stick like this, you gotta have that texture in there. So use that automatic, select your colors, keep things flat, you're good to go. All right, so that looks done. Shoulder pads done, torso done, feet done. So now I want to go ahead and create the textures for the limbs and the face and the helmet. And then I'll be good to go. I'm going to do the second part of this in After Effects. So we'll be able to carry it on there. So let's start with this leg. I love this bandaged up look. And basically what I want to do is create a layer underneath the boot that is the color of the pants, and that expands outside where the pants layer is. I'm going to basically like double this layer for the other side, but I'm just gonna go ahead and well, actually, never mind. I'll do the band-aids first. So this might seem like a lot. It's better to have more than you need than less. With most things. I'm sure you can find your exceptions, but there it is. Do my alpha trick again. I'm gonna go up here and select the brush, sort of like thylacine here, and just bring it to darker. And that's just going to create the illusion of overlapping stuff. Which is all I want there. And now I want to I'll be basically masking all of this extra stuff out. And that's good for the legs. For the arms, I actually don't care about this texture up here. I'll just do a little bit for the forearm. A little bit for both forearms. And essentially, I don't want to worry about the base color. All I want to do is worry about just having a little bit of texture at the forearms, which is what I'll do. This is it. This is all I'm doing here. I'm going to overlay this later over that particular layer. Same on the other side. And a little bit over here for the face, just because it's a nice raw texture. Going back to these arm layers though, I'm gonna also add, and hopefully not regret adding, a little line over here. I'll actually do it on a separate layer just in case, because I can merge this later, but this will make sense when we get there. Just a little overlap layer. And same on the other side, although typically you don't want to build a rig with a bent arm already. So I might end up just duplicating this side. You know what? I'm just going to duplicate this side. Really doesn't make any sense to use this. So the last thing I'm going to do here is add some texture to this helmet. And it's going to be right underneath it. And we're going to mask that out later. It'll make perfect sense, I swear. So selecting the base layer, color. I'm going to select a pretty wide area. More is better than not enough. Perfect. And then I'll just be adding a little bit of texture to make it look nice and dinged up. This stucco has been working very well, so continue with that. I'm going to do alpha lock so it doesn't go out of the edges. Just get messy with it. Then I'll go back to inking and I'm actually going to select Mercury. That's one of my favorite lining brushes, but in order to mimic the smoothness of a vector, I've used a different brush here, but now I can use this one. So I'm going to just create these little dings. I'm not worrying about this green highlight here, just some dings, and then I'll overlay them. Oops. Overlay them with black after the fact. Alright, and that covers everything. It looks really weird right now, but next step it's going to make a lot more sense. And essentially, before I jump into After Effects, I won't videotape this, but I am going to create a couple extra hand shapes that I can use to swap out for different positions for this goon. But I'm going to create the head almost entirely in After Effects. The limbs, arms and legs are going to be like 90% in After Effects. So let's save this. Oops. Share it. I want to export as a PSD. And for now, it's actually anything under 20 megabytes is going to probably send through email. So I'll actually just email it to myself. Nice and easy. I use PC. Otherwise, I would just airdrop it. If you use a MacBook or iMac, really easy to just airdrop it, but I will actually just email it to myself. Once the files get to be bigger than 20 megabytes, you have to use a transfer service like WeTransfer or Dropbox, and it gets to be a little more complicated, but I don't even need to rename it. I'll know when I send it, so. This looks good. Let's jump into the PC.